In this module, we are going to learn about two logical functions. One is AND and one is OR. And we'll also learn how to use AND and OR function in conjunction with IF. Now, what is AND function? AND function takes in certain logical expressions. These logical expressions either evaluates to true or false. Now, if AND takes two logical functions, for instance, though it can take multiple logical functions, suppose it takes two logical expressions and one of them evaluates to true and the other one evaluates to false, then AND will return false. For AND to return true, all the logical expressions should evaluate to true. There is another logical function called OR. The OR function also takes logical expressions and multiple logical expressions. For OR function to be true, at least one logical function should evaluate to true. If all other logical function evaluates to false and only one of them evaluates to true, then OR returns true. For OR to return false, all the logical expressions should evaluate to false. So these are the two logical functions we have. And let us learn that through an example. Now, if you look here, there is a job eligibility list out here, table out here. Now, a person is eligible for a job if he is a graduate. So, if he is a graduate and experience is greater than 3 years. So, what is the eligibility criteria? He should be a graduate. So, anything above or below will not work. He has to be exactly a graduate. And his experience should be greater than 3 years. If both the conditions are satisfied, then only he is eligible. Otherwise, he is not eligible. Now, how do I check that? Now, for example, this person is a graduate, for instance, and his experience is around 2 years. Now, is he eligible or is he not eligible? Now, according to this, he is not eligible because even though he is a graduate, his experience is not greater than 3 years. His experience is 2 years. So, how do I test that and how do I find it out? Using AND. And this is equal to graduate. This is one expression. So, this is one logical expression. The other expression is this should be greater than 3. So, eligibility is false. False means he is not eligible. So, it says false. Now, if I put a 3 here, still it is false because it should be greater than 3, right? So, if I say 4 here, it's true. Right? So, true means he is eligible. Now, if I say graduate, I say undergraduate. False. Even if the experience is 4, he is an undergraduate. So, he has to be a graduate. That means both the conditions needs to satisfy. Okay. Only if both the conditions satisfies, then only this is true. Right. Now, I can say here, I can put an if here and say if it is true, then I can put an if here. If it is true, that if the value is to true, then is eligible? Yes. Else? No. So I can give an if with that AND and say enter. So yes. If I say 2, no. So this is how AND works. Now if I can change this condition a bit and say a person is eligible for a job if he is a graduate or. So now he could be either one of them. If he's a graduate, he's eligible. And even if he's not a graduate, and if that person is having an experience of greater than 3 years, is still eligible. Okay. So again, I'll say is equal to or. Logical expression, this is equal to graduate. That's 1. The second logical expression is that his experience should be greater than 3. Now in this case, I have not given anything, so it evaluates to false. Now suppose he's a graduate. True. Because one of the qualification is done. Experience is like 4. Still it is true, because even if we say experience is 2, it's still true, because one of them is satisfied. Now, if I say here, undergraduate, false, because none of the eligibility is true. So none of the conditions is satisfied, so it's false. So again, I can put that if condition here, right? So I can just copy this formula here, Control C, Control V, and say no, right? And this time I'll use OR. So if I say here 4, say yes. So this way and OR works. Now let us take a practical example. Now in this example, we have this commission. Okay. Now this person would get a commission if his sale is greater than 50,000. Okay. Then he gets a commission of 5%. So if he is a person belonging to North and his minimum sale is 50,000 and greater, then he gets a commission of 5%. Suppose he doesn't have a minimum sale of 50,000, he won't get a. So I have to check 2 criteria. That the person should belong to North and his minimum sale should be this, and then only he gets this commission. So what should I do? I should select this cell, go to my formula, click on the insert function if, and say OK. And say logical test if this region is equal to this, and a function f4, so that's fixed one. So when I drag, this should not change. So I need to give an AND basically, because I have to select 2 conditions. So I'll say AND this is B11 is equal to North, and one more logical expression, the sale should be greater than equal to 50,000. If these 2 condition is satisfied, and I should also give here a function f4. If these 2 conditions are satisfied, then what should happen? Then I should get a sale into this discount, function f4. But suppose if it is false, then I have to do another check. So I go and if, again, and this is equal to South, function f4. So if it's South, another condition, the sale is greater than equal to, of course, 70,000. Then what should happen? Then he should give the sale into 6%. Again false. If it's a false, then again an if, again and, again this is equal to East, function f4, comma another logical expression if this is greater than equal to 75,000, again an expression, close it, value if true. If it is true, then what happens? This into 7%. If false, then I have to check for West as well. So I'll click here and I'll say this is equal to West, that is function f4. Of course, there should be an AND here. So an AND and another logical expression. This should be greater than equal to 80,000. Of course, there should be a function f4. And value if true is this into 8%. And of course, if nothing is matching, then that person should have 0 commission. Okay, and say okay. So this is 10,000, I track this. So this is 0 because in East 70,000, right? So East is minimum 75,000. South 65,000. South minimum is 70,000. And North 45,000. North minimum is 50,000. So these three people, and West minimum is 80,000. So 1, 2, 3, 4 get 0 commissions because they belong to the region whose minimum sale has not been reached for commission, for him to get a commission. Right? So that's how the whole formula is. And that is how if and AND would work together. So I've given one simple example, very simple, and the one which is having a bit of complexity to understand AND and OR.